Hey everyone, welcome back to our coverage of Fox's new hit reality TV show, The Snake. We are back. Had a little week off last week, but we are back. Very exciting episode to discuss here, episode 4. I am Jenny, of course, joined by the wonderful Chappell. How are you?
Jenny, I'm good. I'm good, but I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad
Yeah,
because we lost a good one this time. We passed her down, man.
passed her
Passed her
down.
down. Yeah.
Your Chiron says it all right now. Passed her down.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, we lose a really big and I think important character to the story of the snake so far tonight in Pastor Jacob. But I thought it was a really great episode. Things are heating up. And I'm really excited to talk about it all. But yeah, we're a little bit in mourning over here, I think, right?
A little bit, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
a
And here's
little
why.
bit.
Here's why. Like, look, we love the pastor, right? We've been
Yeah.
very clear, a little, maybe a little biased even toward our pastor guy, but let's be very clear. This is his fault, Pastor Jacob.
Mhm.
How dare you? You got us really out here rooting for you, and you gonna play like this? What's going on, Jenny? I
Yeah.
of the games we've watched, and I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this is like abnormally bad gameplay. Like this
Yeah.
is
It's
so
funny too, yeah, because I feel like we've been saying this, like, in different ways in other episodes. It's not like it was just, like, one really bad episode. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, the last time we chatted, which was a couple weeks ago because we had there was no new episode last week for the holiday, and, the big crash and burn of last episode with this, big plan of creating a pact with the enemy to use the enemy to take out one of their own that blows up obviously in Pastor Jacob's face. And then we had this episode where you know it was not an isolated incident, and I think that what made it even harder was thinking that I think that there were multiple scenarios where like he would not have gone home if he had not done what he did. Like if he had just been a silent pastor and just let other people talk, you know what I mean? I think that there were numerous other scenarios that could have occurred and that were likely to occur if what occurred from his actions did not occur, but it had occurred. There was occurrences.
occurrences occurred, and the entire episode was like a slow moving train wreck. Part two, because we already did that last
Yeah.
episode. We already did that. We did it last episode where we're like, hey, this is going to go poorly. And
Mhm.
Jenny,
The
about
car
halfway through,
backed up over us.
yeah, about halfway through the episode, Pastor Jacob said, "You thought that was bad. Let me show you this." Because my
Uh,
God, I was like, okay, like last week we were workshopping. What does a pastor have to do to reclaim this? Does he
yeah.
now have like a reformed image about himself? Like he can't be playing that well because I mean, look at him. He did all these things last week. Everybody's like kind of exposed and see him like he's not that great of a game player. But then this week, it seems like okay, the cards might be falling into his lap in a way that he might be able to make it a little bit further. We see that he's addressed and approached with a pact. His alliance is basically told, okay, look, how about this week we don't go after each other, which for him is a good reprieve. In a normal situation, I'm like, hey, if someone tells you it's a truce, you don't believe them, because they could come after you. But honestly, and if you get the power, you come after them. You definitely come after them. You let them put their guard down, but you don't let your guard down. Your guard has been down enough. But it did feel like the chips were just falling in the right places. We have one
Yep.
side saying, let's not target each other, let's target this other side. You have one person saying, I'm a mole. I'm working with the other side, but I want to take them out. Let me cook and I got them. And and when you could have just done nothing, you
Yeah.
did something. And the something that he did was so bad, but it was fun to watch, and I
It
just can't
was.
wait to get into all of the occurrences of this episode with you today.
Oh, you're right. There's a lot of things that happened, and we'll go through it all. But I do want to because as much as we love Pastor Jacob and what he's brought to this show, we will be critical.
Of course.
But I do want to highlight one thing that I think is very important and is a compliment to Pastor Jacob, in that our girl Katherine has been snowing most of this cast for a couple of weeks now, and Jacob is the first person to accurately clock that Katherine is playing both sides. She's lying, she's wheeling and dealing. And I really think that even though how he handled this information was not the right move, I do want to give Pastor Jacob some flowers in that his eyes are open. He sees the shit. Her eyes are definitely open as well.
Yeah. Oh, Pastor
But
Jacob, we could have had it all. We could have, Pastor Jacob, you
it
was
almost
right
makes it
there.
worse.
Yeah, it does. Jenny, the more you're talking, like, man, Pastor
No,
Jacob,
you're more mad now.
we could have had it all. This woman revealed to you her big, like, she took off the mask and showed it to you. And
Yeah.
instead of you being like, bet, I'm going to hold on to that, because she's playing both sides. She's on our side and she's on their side. And we need all the allies we can get. You said, no, let's all attack her. Let's go after her. She's the problem. Like, no,
No.
she's not the problem.
Wait a
The
sec.
bros are still the problem. They're still the problem. And now you got another enemy. Oh, Jenny.
Handle that later.
Handle it later. Handle it
Yeah.
later. It's just,
Yeah.
oh my God. And this went so poorly. But yeah, we finally see the unveiling of the real Katherine. We were kind of questioning, these first few episodes, if people were watching this at home and being like, oh, this lady's crazy. Like, this isn't how she was acting in the house. But I think from here, it might be hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube now that we've seen the real her. Like, she goes from very poised and very, like, calculated. And then and it seems like all of these moves are really calculated from her. But the level of, like, that she goes to, when it comes to, the angry side of her, right? When she starts to show her teeth, she's like, F you, pastor. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy
She
thing
popped
to say to a
off.
pastor. Yeah. And so I'm kind of like, if I did trust her before and I just watched her cuss out a pastor, she's definitely on my radar. Maybe I'm not thinking I need to target her immediately, but she can't pull off this is sweet little Katherine anymore. I think that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, that will be one of the most interesting things to watch going forward here, is like what does Katherine's game look like going forward? Because with all of that said, she wins this battle, obviously, because we are going to lose Pastor Jacob here. But everyone was still kind of like supporting her and saying, she hasn't told me any lies. I was in on this. But like, I truly feel like there are some things happening. There's some things brewing, and that people, when the emotions calm down and Jacob isn't there to kind of like, go back and forth with her, I think that people will probably start thinking about things and being like, okay, wait, what is this? And like, I was jumping to defend my girl in the moment, but like, maybe there's some truth to this. We definitely already see, like, not so much about Katherine, but we see Frankie. And I think this is a big, breakout episode for Frankie as well. And Alyssa, obviously. Kind of clocking that Derek is probably being truthful here, and that the bros are, kind of BSing him and stuff. So the people are starting to figure some of this stuff out, and I think it might just take a little bit of time for some of this to percolate. So while, Pastor Jacob loses this battle and is eliminated here, I do think some damage has been done. But also some of that was Katherine's like own actions and how she conducted herself. But yeah, what a crazy situation. We should start with kind of how we got here. And I think it's important to talk about some of the moves of Katherine here, in that we get this like flashback early in the episode to the previous round, and it must have, I think the conversation must have taken place after the elimination, where Katherine is sitting with Derek and
Derek and
Jacob,
Jacob.
and is not only just like kind of, you know, shit talking the guys, straight up reveals that she's had a secret pact with them called tells them the name of it, Core 4. Not that that's a very original alliance name. And is just telling these two everything. How do you feel about this move for her?
I don't hate it because I do think that Katherine just lost her number one ally in Brian. And by lost, I mean threw him to the wolves, right? We saw that.
Who was Katherine's number one ally?
But that's
we see a lot of people saying that she's theirs.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anybody else thinks that she's their number one ally. I think that she's the fifth, she's the fourth of the core four. All right, it's the bros and then her. And so I think she needs to find her a piece that is directly belongs to her, and she threw that piece away. She threw Brian away.
But here's the thing: it's like I don't know who she wants to be her, like who her true alliance is to, besides herself, obviously, because we see in this, and this is where I want to credit Katherine, multiple points in this episode we see at least two of the three bros say that like that's their number one. We see the conversation between Jack and Katherine, where Katherine's talking about like, you know, Jacob is such a bad player, like he's not going to win the game after this. This was so bad. And we get all these confessionals from Jack, who is a very savvy player. And this is his blind spot where he's like, I don't think Katherine can tell a lie. Like she's so good. Like I'm riding with her. And then there's another point later in the episode where there's an interaction between Devonte and Katherine where he says, you know, you're my ride or die. And so I think that Katherine has had numerous players, and I think probably Jordan feels like that like Katherine is her number one. So what's interesting to me is just trying to figure out like who does Katherine actually want to ride with most? Because
I don't think she cares. I don't think she has.
I guess not.
Right? Because what does it matter? Well, for one, I don't believe that these people are actually her number ones, right? Like, so the bros are not turning on each other for Katherine. It's not happening. These bros are in lockstep. So they could say you're a ride or die, but they're just trying to keep her close so she doesn't stray. I think the other alliances in the house are very obvious to everyone, right? I think Alyssa, Frankie, and Jordan are like a threesome right now. And then I think you have Katherine, who's like, I'm with y'all. But then she's also like, but I'm with the boys. And I think at some point she has to start dismantling these alliances because she will fall to the bottom of one of them eventually. She's at the bottom of both of them. And so I'm thinking she's like,
I don't think that at all.
I do. I think that there's no world where Jack is picking Katherine over Devonte or Brett. I don't think it's happening. And I
think if you get down to it, because I think that Jack, based on what Jack's perception of Katherine is, based on like how he talks about her, is that it's like when guys want to ride with their guy and they're like, I love working with my strong bro, and then they're like they view like the woman they're working with as like weaker and more beatable, and so it's like they're waiting until like the last minute being like, oh, I can't win against my guy, so I'm gonna try and set things up so that I'm like, and again, we don't even know how the show ends.
No,
but like, let's say it's like a final two situation where there's some sort of vote. I don't know. Let's just talk about this as if it's Big Brother. And I truly think that like, you know, a Jack and maybe a Devonte, I don't know as much about what his thoughts are on Katherine, but he did say to her that she was his ride or die. That they're going to protect the other guys as much as possible, and they feel really tight with them. But I can see them all being like, but I want to sit next to Katherine at the end. And so that's kind of where I feel like she fits in with the guy alliance. Like eventually they're going to be like, okay, that's my bro, but all three bros, we can't get to the end. So we're going to have to cut each other at some point. And they might all be fighting to sit next to Katherine. Again, based on an end game we don't know. And then to the other four, obviously Frankie and Alyssa are besties, and like Jordan is in with them, but I feel, especially like from how the events of this episode played out, I do feel like Katherine is a fourth in there, and that, but that she's not necessarily number 4. It's like if she's number 4, it's from her own choice because she's prioritizing other people over those 3. But I think that Jordan feels like, because we see a lot of Jordan like really defending Katherine in this episode, and I think that like Jordan feels like, okay, Frankie and Alyssa are besties, and then me being Jordan and Katherine, we're besties, and then the 4 of us are besties together. Like that's what I think that hierarchy looks like. So I actually don't think that Katherine is in like a terrible position in either of those 4s, but by trying to be everything to everyone, that eventually is going to catch up to you.
Yeah, and I completely disagree. I think like we are going to go on 2 different pages.
I
That
love it though,
yeah,
because this doesn't
I
always happen.
I think when the boys alliance, I really think that not only is she 4th, but she's almost 6th because these boys are now getting showmances. We've been
Oh,
talking
okay.
about Jack and McClain up until
Yeah.
this point and saying like, we know McClain likes Jack, but does Jack like her back? And now we see them kissing in this episode, holding hands.
Yeah.
And so not
Yeah.
only does she have to beat the bro alliance, but she also has to beat the showmances. And then you go over to Devonte, and it looks like him and Amanda are getting close.
I
Katherine,
know.
girl, where are you about to go? And
But
so
I
when it
think that those like, especially if these showmances become obvious to other people outside of this, those people are going to get targeted before Katherine. So
yes,
I
but who
actually
gonna
don't think
target
like
him?
it's
Who is gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? They're aligned with everybody.
eventually like, the Frankie and Alyssas and the Jordans and
Yes,
like
and they
and
had the
there's
opportunity
2 other
this week.
people.
They missed
I
this.
know.
This was the time. That's why I'm like, nah.
But this
I
is
think
still Jacob's fault.
yeah. Look, number one, this is Jacob's fault. Number one, first and foremost, this is Jacob's fault.
We are
But
in agreement on this.
yes, but I do think that Katherine, her thing is that she needs to start dismantling these big alliances. Like she is not a part of any like one stronghold alliance. She's like
Yeah.
holding on to the ends of each of them. Like she's like she's not Frankie and Alyssa. They'll never turn on each other,
No, no,
right?
no.
And like and I don't, Jordan, I have so many questions about Jordan and
I
what
know.
she's doing anyway.
I know.
But when it comes to the boys, like they have each other, then they have McClain, then they have Amanda. It's like, okay, Katherine, who is picking you? You know, over all the rest of these people. So that's why I'm like, okay, I don't think for her, if she's able to lose Brett here, that moves her up 1 spot.
Yeah.
If she's able to lose potentially, like, hey, like maybe go after Devonte, that moves her up a spot, and that probably frees up Amanda. I think that like going after the bros early, like now, it isn't awful as long as she doesn't get any blood on her hands from it. But
Mhm.
in this episode, thanks to Pastor Jacob, he wanted to put all the heat on her, when in reality, he should have just let that go. Let her
Yeah.
do the thing that she's telling you she's trying to do, and you make sure that you and Derek get chosen, because for as far as I'm concerned, Alyssa and Derek just worked really closely last episode together. If you and Pastor Jacob double down and go at Alyssa as a united front and say, "Hey, we're working with you, whatever the case may be. Like those guys are lying, whatever." You go with them and say, "We're all together." I think they feel a lot stronger. But with Pastor Jacob being like, "Okay, I know you're being told to target the boys, or you're being told to target Derek, but let me throw a third option in there that nobody's talking about or cares about. It's Katherine." Everybody's like, "What? Oh, we
Yeah.
don't, boy, we don't care." Like there were definitely times where I thought they were going to tell Pastor like, "Hey, bro, chill out. We don't care. Like this isn't about Katherine." It was so much bigger than him. So I think that I don't mind her spot at all. But I do think like she needs to find a number 1. She needs to find someone who's always going to pick her. And right now, I don't think she has that.
I think it's Jordan, to be honest, but I think that she might have silently, not so silently, but like I think she might have done a little bit of damage to that. And
Mm.
here's the thing is I actually think that with the way the game was looking at the beginning of this episode, obviously her losing Brian wasn't great, but she kind of said it herself, like she also wants allies that are like doing work for themselves and that they're not just like being dragged along by her. And she has other options. I didn't hate her place in the game going into this episode. I think that she probably could have done less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think that, you know, she did not have to say as much as she did to Derek and Jacob. Obviously, Jacob makes his decision to blow it up as much as he does, which was another decision, another choice. But I think that she could have just kind of like let this war that she's not really a part of because no one knows that she's in with the guys kind of go, and then she could have gotten the results she wanted. Like, this was a kind of an L for Katherine in a way. Like, it could have been worse, and she did kind of, survive this in that, like, it could have gone really poorly for her when she was basically being called out for playing both sides. She gets through that part, but Jacob going for her, like, yes, at the end of the episode was best for her game at that point, but it wouldn't have been best for her game if she had maybe not given him so much information, and also if he had not gone and blown it up. Because I think that if both of those people just chilled the fuck out, we see one of the bros going, or a non-consequential piece, no offense, like Christine.
Yeah.
Go. And then that's like still kind of good for Katherine, because it's like there's still going to be this war waging on between these two sides, and she's not going to be the number one target for either of them. So I kind of feel like it was a messy episode for both of them. Obviously, so much more mistakes made on Jacob's part, and he's the one that ultimately suffers here. But I do think that Katherine was maybe just doing a little too much. And, maybe if she hadn't said as much as she did, Jacob wouldn't have. Again, it was still like Jacob's choice to do this, but I don't know if she had not gone so hard about like having this pact with the guys, and then seemingly hanging out with them all the time and making him really sus of her, like, things might have turned out a little bit differently here for her.
I'm torn because I don't know if she like did this by mistake, right? Like if this was an accident, or if she's Katherine and she's been doing this double dealing this whole time, and she has her bit with her cell phone, all her rules, and she was just being a showman. Like, I'm about to go and tell you this thing, and I'm going to go back and rule number 34, like, I can't tell if she was just being flashy and got caught up, or if she really felt like, I needed to do this. Like, I needed to tell these boys this. And maybe it is because she's playing both sides. So obviously, like, does she need to come to the pastor and Jacob be like, look, I know y'all see me with them all the time, but I promise you, I got
this is
you.
What's going on?
Yeah. And that's what she did. I don't know if she needed to do it. And that's why I'm kind of like, we don't see enough, because the pastor says, like, it's very obvious that she's playing both sides. I'm like, well, is that why she told you that? Because her thing that she'll do throughout the episode is every time you question her with anybody else, she'll be like, yes, they already knew that because I told them that, like, or why are you telling them that? I already told them I was going to do that, and so she's really covering her bases by doing that. When people were like, yeah, you told the pastor you were coming for us, like, yes, and I told you I was going to tell the pastor I was coming for you, it's, so I don't hate it, I don't, but it was very messy. It was very messy, and I definitely think it was like, it wasn't necessary. It just wasn't. And then, of course, I don't think anybody could have counted on Pastor Jacob doing what he ended up doing anyway.
No, I mean, again, we're seeing it all packaged in the way, and we're seeing the conversations that don't involve some of these people and knowing what could have happened. But yeah, it did not need to turn out the way it was. And I don't know. I just think that she's a gaslight queen, and that, like, any perceived mistake she makes, she's already got the loaded explanation of why this was like, oh no, I meant to do that. This was all part of my master plan.
It's in my phone, duh.
Yeah.
Send us the notes app.
Number. Yeah. Like, I want to see it.
Yeah.
And I want you to point chronologically when you enacted each of these things.
Right.
Because you're right. This could have been, something that she points back to and being like, no, this was actually like a very intentional thing, because I felt like I needed to give this much information because of blah, blah, blah. It's hard to say, but just like seeing the other conversations, seeing that I really do think that, a player like Alyssa, her best move, what she would have wanted to do here was, not make any waves, stay in good with both sides and get rid of a Christine. I think that that's probably, if she had had her way, like what she would have wanted to happen here. And the everyone could have been fine, but we ultimately get like a much more explosive episode and result. So, you know, I'm not complaining too much about that.
Yeah, I thought it was very good on Derek to go and blow this up. Like, I really thought, like, okay, Derek seeing that Alyssa is probably going to do what everybody thinks is, which is like, hey, I'll play it safe. I'll nominate Frankie. Frankie nominate Jordan. Jordan nominate Katherine. Katherine nominate blah, 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 all the way down. And then Christine's going to be the odd man out. But Derek's like, I need Christine. I need anybody who's not in the Bro Alliance to still be here, because if they get power, they can save me. None of these bros are going to save me. So I need to make sure that we start this war
Cut a
now.
number.
Yeah, we gotta knock out one of them. We cannot afford to have them in such a numbers advantage against my little alliance, which is one person, but it could be three of us. It could be the four of us even. It could be me, Frankie, Jordan, Alyssa, like we could really put this together. But we gotta shoot at one of the guys, and it just goes downhill from here because we get the challenge, and it's not even really a challenge, Jenny. It's go have surf and turf, drink a lot of champagne, and give the drunkest person at the table the
That's
snake.
how I would win.
Yeah, you and I battling for supremacy. Yeah. Listeners, I don't know if y'all know this, but one time we were at brunch and Jenny got really drunk and threw a glass at me. So she threw a mimosa at me, like a housewife.
First of all, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, you will see that my Chiron reads Kuth Haver. Okay,
wow.
We know that Frankie really values Kuth.
It's his favorite
and I consider myself a Kuth Haver. And would a Kuth Haver be throwing a mimosa at one of her besties at brunch? Absolutely not. Would
I think it happened twice.
Okay, listen. There might have been accidents that occurred, and I think that maybe both Chappell and I were responsible.
How was I responsible for getting mimosa?
You know what you did.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, in the battle for
anyway,
who
that's
drinks the most champagne at the table, I'm thinking me and Jenny are number 1 and 2 for becoming the snake this week.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and if we don't, then what are we doing here? No, I love that. I love this, even though I am saying it feels a little rigged.
Well, they said they chose their seat.
Did they? Because this is where I want to. Maybe I need to watch back to hear if that is truly. And it could, who said that they chose their seat? Did Jim say in a voiceover?
Okay. Jim said.
I'm calling bullshit.
He said even in even in this challenge, your decisions matter because you got to choose your seat. Those were his words.
That sounds like we're backpedaling, I think, because you want to know why I'm suspicious, because I love that we had a situation where someone who is flying under the radar, playing the middle, and is kind of, good with both sides, ends up being the snake, and maybe a situation where they probably wouldn't have gone for it because they're like, I'm not in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's when we have a way that one of these people becomes in power without them. You can't throw it. You have no idea what you're even doing. So one, I think that this is the result they wanted. That they wanted someone in the middle. They wanted someone like this to be the snake. And then also there was another comment later in the episode where McLean says to Jack something about like, I like that I got to sit next to you at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that read they had assigned seating. And I'm tinfoil hat right now. I know. And I'm not really that mad at it. Like, if that's because, like, what? Who cares? I don't know. Ultimately, who cares? I love an equalizer challenge. It's not even a challenge. it, so I'm not really that mad at it, but I do kind of feel like there were just things that were said that I'm like, did they choose? I feel like because there was something about the wording of what Max said to Jack in that like she felt lucky that it worked out that way and that she got to sit next to him at dinner and that it wasn't a choice that they consciously made. So that's why I'm a little like,
and twisty.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe they got that voiceover from Jim after the fact to
Maybe
try
he
to,
lied.
yeah, you try just to try to fan the flames of people being like rigged. It was rigged. But really, is anyone upset and like about Alyssa becoming our snake here? I thought this was very fun.
I mean, if I'm Pastor Jacob, I would be mad. If I'm Derek, I would be mad too. Like I think now, like I
Yeah,
think these people, their back
but
was
the
against the
viewers.
wall. But yeah, the viewers, no, this is great. I
That's the
really,
side I'm on.
yeah, look, this was great because Alyssa is a good TV. Like even
Mm-hmm.
when she's
She's
not
great.
doing much, like her commentary, her and Frankie, they're
So good.
such a fun pair. So I was happy to see that she was the one who ends up winning this. She's doing a few things like drunk at the table, kind of like, hey guys, why don't we go around the table saying nice things about each other? I'll start. She said, go to say something nice about the person to your left. I'll start with Derek, or I'll start with Jacob. And of course, the person to the left of Jacob is Frankie. So she's like, say something nice about my best friend now, or else. And so
Yeah.
that's how she kind of gets the conversation going. And that's before she even becomes the snake. So I thought, okay, this is going to be very fun. Frankie is getting a lot of attention. Derek is the one who points out, like, hey, Frankie is kind of he's like the real snake of the house because everybody loves him. He's good with all the women for sure. The same way the bros are locked in. When none of the women are going to turn on Frankie because he's doing their hair and giving them hairdresser therapy. And hairdresser therapy is a special kind of therapy.
It is. It truly is. And Frank knows it as well. Like we hear it from him being like, I'm literally like people's therapist. Like they're coming to me with their insecurities. I'm helping them. And then like they're revealing so much about themselves in the process. Like, this is a very, very common thing that people in the beauty industry, makeup artists, hairstylists, like it is kind of like a therapy chair for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's aware of why he's a threat in this game. And it, as a Frankie fan, I definitely made me a little nervous because people are starting to pick up on why he is such a dangerous player, because not only is like you said, Derek calling him out being like he's the true snake, and I think he means this with like so much respect, being like that
Absolutely.
is the most dangerous person in a game like this. But the aforementioned inciting conversation that happens here between Derek and Jack. Jack comes to Derek, and before we find out who is going to be the snake, and kind of says like, "Hey, clearly we're going at each other here, but are we really going to do like? Is that really good for us to pick each other off like that? Like, maybe we need to just like let bygones be bygones." And I think that there's, an even truer pact in this game, and it's Frankie and Alyssa. So their name is in Jack's mouth as well, separately, for the same reason, being like these are two very social players, very likable, not causing any waves with each other, and damn, are they tight? Like these are best friends. That is dangerous in the game, and they're right. They are right.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to end up being a really bad conversation for Jack later, because I understand the move, especially before who's going to be in power. You do a little damage control. You just pulled a fast one on Derek and Jacob in this last saving ceremony or whatever the hell they call it, and you kind of have to like be like, okay, just in case one of you end up in power, let's like maybe
Mm-hmm.
try to like smooth things over here. I don't hate the move, but the problem is that when you are naming other people as threats before you, it's like there's pros and cons to doing that, because you don't want to be so like wishy-washy that you're not ever like offering another target, and that they're like, okay, you're just like bullshitting me. But once you give names to the enemy, like you are running the risk of them using that against you. And we ultimately see that happen here, when Derek is going to, run to Alyssa and let her know that their names came out of Jack's mouth.
Jack played this so poorly. Derek played it perfectly, and it
Yeah,
still didn't work out
I
because
know.
the people Derek is going to about this, they don't necessarily. Jacob still has this pastor stench on him. Like they've been after him since
What's
day
the
one because
pastor stench?
it's just that take off that damn collar, Jacob.
I know.
They just don't trust him. They don't, and so he
Mhm.
goes to Alyssa, and she sounds like okay. I can hear. I see that. I can see that. I can see that being a thing. Frankie's like, yeah, it sounds like he's telling the truth. But then you have Jordan who's like, don't trust it. Sorry. I was like, girl,
Yeah.
what? What do you mean you don't trust it? She's like, what if they're just lying to save themselves? What about that? Like, Jordan, sit this one out. Like you
And
just.
this is why Katherine wants Jordan to be her number one, is all I'm
I
going to
think
say
I think
there.
Katherine should. I don't think
Yeah.
Katherine's ever said it, but I think she
But I
should
think
want
that that's
Jordan
what
in her
was
pocket.
like her best. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jordan is just like she's just so far off, and so like now Alyssa's like, no, I think Jordan's making some points. Derek would lie to us here, because honestly, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense for Jack to come reveal this to Derek, knowing that Derek could go and run this back. But I think Derek played this correctly. I think you got to go to this with this information and say like, look, I'm telling the truth. They're coming after you. We're in alliance. Now is the time to strike. But it just keeps getting shot down. The only person who seemingly believes Derek and can tell that he's being sincere throughout this entire episode is Frankie.
Yes. Frankie, again, not only being good socially outwardly, and being incredibly skilled at, being liked by other players, making bonds, making relationships. He also is very perceptive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the things that he picks up on in this episode, and how he articulates them is like, again, another example of like how good he is as a player, because he's acknowledging that when things get really like tense and there's these situations where everyone's yelling and fighting, that like Derek is like chill, like in a way where it's like he doesn't have to get heated because he knows he knows that he's not going to get caught in any sort of lie because he's said exactly what happened, and is
Mm-hmm.
not like misrepresenting anything. And that's not to say that like, if you have to act that way, like if you don't act that way, you're definitely lying. But I think it's just like a common kind of trait that like when people get caught in lies, they get like really heated and they
Mm-hmm.
are rambling, not like me right now, but you know what I'm
Well,
saying. So he
well,
he accurately clocks this in many different scenarios during this episode.
yeah. Well, I think there's one other thing that's really playing into his favor, and it's that Jack admits that conversation happens. Like Jack played
Yeah.
this so wrong. So at some point there is the big confrontation, and Derek is like, I think Alyssa literally asked, like, so what is this all you said about like there was a conversation about coming after me and Frankie and Derek's and so Jack's like, yeah, I talked to Derek, and I was just like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be targeting each other, and Derek goes, see. That's literally what I just said. And Jack's
Yeah.
like, wait, don't try to throw me on the bus. He's like, I'm not throwing you on the bus. I'm just confirming the conversation that you just had. You said it. I'm saying it happened. I'm telling the truth. This is the proof. And Frankie's like, I mean, it's right there. And so he's able to say calm, where Jack now has to escalate because he let it slip that those exact words came out of his mouth. Now, when he said it, I don't think he thought, okay, they could use this to incriminate me, which is crazy. But he is using it to incriminate him. You should have said that conversation never happened. I don't know what he's talking about. He's lying. But that's not what
Yeah.
you said. You tried to like sugarcoat the truth, which is, yeah, we had a conversation about not targeting each other, but we didn't say target you per se. It's like, yeah, you did. Because who else would you be targeting, Christine? You really want us to put our guns down and target Christine? Like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And so I
Like
think
two
that's
big game players, like that's you're gonna be your big
right,
move. Yeah.
exactly. When it makes
Yeah.
so much more sense to target Frankie and Alyssa as a pair, especially because they're not in this very obvious bros alliance. And so, yeah, I think he just played it wrong. Derek played it correctly, and Frankie could see it, but there was so much other drama thanks to Pastor
Yeah.
Jacob.
I do have to ask though, do you think that, obviously when in a situation where, Derek reveals what Jack has said and he maybe doesn't have the ability to completely deny it, like maybe that feels like trying to deny it is going to be too messy. Like is it not perhaps the move to just do exactly what not Alyssa but Jordan is thinking that he might have done, and is just saying, yeah, I was lying to you, and I I said those names knowing that is something that you would agree to, and I would have completely told them about that conversation if you had ended up in power. Like, I don't know. Like, is it kind of one of those things, because that's what kind of what Katherine does, where she's getting called out on things, being like, yeah, they knew that I was telling you that.
That was
Like,
the
should
plan.
that have been the defense that Jack kind of takes there, where he's just like, sure, the conversation happened. Do
I
you think that
lied.
I'm going to work with Derek? Like, no, we're having a conversation where it's just like fake. I'm feeding him a name to, like, I don't know. Like, I would have never ever gone after those two. I don't know.
No, I think you do. I think you do deny it. I just think he wasn't ready. I think you're completely
Yeah.
correct. You just go
You
in
have
like,
to be
what?
prepared.
You have, yeah, you have to be like, I said that because I was lying to you. So there,
He also
and Jordan gets there on her own. That's what really bothers me. Jordan's like, had you ever considered that they were lying to her to lie to you? It's like, hey, Jordan, if you're gonna be aligned with Katherine, I need y'all on the same page. Katherine wants to target these boys. Where are you in this conversation? Why
because
are you trying to
Katherine,
save them?
that's one of Katherine's rules. She needs to get what she wants to happen without people knowing that it was her idea. So that's
Yeah.
just Katherine playing an excellent game
No,
in
a
just
bad
not
game.
making it
Bad game.
obvious how
Bad
she wants
game.
these boys out.
Because that's the thing. Jordan,
She'll gaslight you and tell you it
if
was all a part of her plan, okay?
if I'm supposed to believe that Jordan and Katherine are like, that's her number one, the first person who's supposed to know that you're about to take out these boys is your number one, Jordan. And she's
But
like
Katherine's not going to tell
the
you shit.
but that's the thing. If she like the plan's not gonna work if Jordan's trying to put it out.
Yeah.
She's like, nope. Jordan is the loudest person against them, not targeting the boys in this episode, and she's not even aligned with them, and she is fighting for their lives in the game, like probably
Yeah.
harder than Pastor Jacob is. It's really crazy. Like the two people who want the boys out the least in this episode are Jordan and Pastor Jacob. And that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it is a wild situation. No, I mean, you're right. I just think it's really funny because, you know, the way that Katherine plays is she's not going to make it too obvious what she really wants to happen. She's trying to lead people to that, result without it being like driven by her. But you're right, she needs to lock in at some point and really you know be working with a person that she feels like she can beat. And again, do they know how this game ends? Does anyone know
Who know?
anything?
Nobody knows.
Do they know? I don't know. I don't think that any of them know. I don't even know if they knew what the show was. But here we
I don't think
are.
they do.
And what a ride it has been. So where do we even go here? Should we talk about the little surprise at dessert?
Yeah, I mean, because we called it a couple, when we
When we got
first got
Christine.
our
Yeah.
Christine crate, they said a couple crates were found at the river, but they only brought us
Mm-hmm.
one, and so now we're kind of seeing that. Okay, there's another crate. I know we're about to get into who this is, but is there any world where there's another crate too? Like, is this the last crate? What do you think?
I wonder. Because I mean, we're only on week 4. The later they bring, I already feel like not super high on this twist, in that I don't I when a game is so much about, being socially ingratiated with people and like having multiple people that are going to save you and all of that, like coming in late and trying to like catch up on bonds is like really really hard. And the only thing that is good about this twist is that it throws in a person to kind of change things up a little bit and change the dynamics slightly, and you can't just revolving door them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, the fact that Christine has now survived 2 weeks where she could have been vulnerable is maybe proof that it won't necessarily work that way. But we also saw in this episode that Christine literally has no relationships. She had Cody is gone, and she is kind of given a life vest here in the form of a newer person that hops out of a crate, and we'll get to him in a second. And then this guy is like, you have no one.
Right.
I don't even want to work with you because you have no relationships. So I don't know if we will get another one. Maybe they'll like maybe it's all predetermined and we'll get one by like episode 6 or something like that, and then that's when it will end. But I wonder if like they're looking at the game and they're saying like, okay, this like bringing people in late thing is not really working the way that we wanted it to, but maybe they feel like it is working the way that they want it to. I just like, if we end up in a situation where like the Christines and the Johns and like the people that are coming in randomly and are just kind of being used as like, we will save you so that we can get rid of another person, are like a bunch of the people left at the end. Oh, kind of weak sauce. Like,
yeah, I don't like that. I personally, I don't love when people get to come in late because it kind of feels like almost like unfair, because like you got like what, four free weeks of not having to deal with this nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong, you do miss out on bonds.
Disadvantage, yeah, too.
Right. But if Pastor Jacob comes in at week 4, I think it's way better for his game.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
oh, for sure.
Yeah. So that's tough. Yeah, I don't love it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Christine though. Like, I need her to do something. Like, Pastor Jacob is gone now, and like, he was the person who I was like most willing to like shake, like just get to be like, get in the game, get your head in the game. Now I'm looking at Christine and saying, this dude, politician John, Mayor John, who we meet in this episode with his bow tie, is incentivized to work with you, and within seconds he's like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
like, girl, you gotta do something. You gotta bring something to the table.
That made me feel good about Mayor John, at least, in that like he at least recognized like, okay, I need to be working with people that actually have power and can have some sort of sway over other people, and this would be like, tying myself to like a concrete block and hopping into the water. Like, she will drag me down. She has no bonds. She cannot help me. Like, I need to get in with people that actually have standing in this game. And for him to recognize and clock that so quickly, I think was promising for him. However, the reception for Christine versus the reception for Mayor John was, I think, hilarious juxtaposition, because this guy, and I don't think that he did himself any favors in how he acted out of the crate, but like, I don't know if it was because they were sauced up.
I think so. I think it was
maybe a little bit.
The
wine was flowing, and this guy hops out of the box in his bow tie, and they are just roasting him.
Jordan, what are you doing?
Jordan was wasted.
Jordan was wasted. She goes, go home. It's like, Jordan, you don't have a number 1 ally in this game. You are at the bottom. Does she?
I think so.
Her number 1 ally she's trying to save her number 1 ally's target throughout this entire episode.
Her number 1 ally was the bottle of white wine.
Exactly.
To which I say, girl, I get it.
Do your thing, Jordan. Jordan, this could be an ally for you, and you're the loudest one. Be like, get out of here.
Go home.
We like the pecking order the way it is. Like, are you crazy? The people who were so upset to see him were Jordan and the bros, because the bros are in charge, and Jordan, for some reason, wants them to win the game. I don't know. And so, yeah, they're just talking mad trash about them. And even Katherine is like, I'm going to use that, because even should make the bros a target. She's like, don't y'all think it was kind of weird that the bros were like talking trash? They said he looks like he sells babes. Like, don't you think that was mean? And
I thought that was funny. to
I thought it was funny too. I
I
don't know.
was
I ain't
like,
never seen a
was that
vape
the
salesman in
meanest
a
thing
bow tie.
said? I think the honestly, I think the meanest thing that happened was Jordan being like this man has not even introduced himself, and she's like, "Go home, get
Yeah.
out of
Well,
here."
I believe Jack said, "Get fucked, John."
Okay, that
So
might actually. Did he say that to him?
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
then I
he
think
said it
that's.
out loud. I don't think he said it to
Oh
him, but
yeah, you just
we could
get
hear him say
fucked.
it. Get fucked.
They're all so drunk, which is really funny. But I thought the vape comment was funny.
It
Like,
made me laugh. I'm not gonna lie.
I
It
don't
made me
know,
laugh.
like he's roasting him.
Yeah. But also like even Katherine could acknowledge like this is the time I can
Oh
use
yeah.
this against the bros, and Jordan's like that was fun.
Yeah.
Stop
He
it, like
does
Jordan,
kind of look
shut
like
up.
he sells vapes. It's
Do
fine.
people wear do people wear bow ties when they sell vapes?
um
It's a very professional
it may
look for a
be a
vape salesman.
fancy, like a fancy vape store. Also,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. I think that I think that there's like two different looks
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
um to like being a vape salesman.
Go
And I
on.
think that like it can be like uber casual, and then it's like the like stereotypical, and you like look at that person and you're like, yeah,
Mhm.
you look like you work at a
Yeah.
vape store. And then there's like the guy that's like, I'm so dapper.
Right.
And like he's also the vape guy. It's like leaning into like the dressy type look. And so I honestly thought it was a solid roast from Jack, but
It
it's
was
also
funny.
like, bro, you need to like not good for him. Like you need to continue building an army. Do not alienate this guy immediately, because you know who needs numbers? Derek and Jacob.
Yeah.
And like, do not give this guy a reason to choose other people over you.
Let these
That's my
people
issue
drink
with
more. Let them drink more. Let them
it.
drink
Because
more.
yeah.
It got cracked today because they were drunk, okay? Because Jack
Yes.
was playing poorly throughout this
Oh
entire
yeah.
episode. This was probably his worst strategic episode. Completely.
Yes.
I just can't
I
I can't
agree.
think of anything he did correctly. Um
No.
it was so bad. And then and
I
this,
mean,
you
maybe
know,
just
like
locking in Mac even more, but I think that he kind of already had her.
right. Like he had to do nothing with to do that. I mean, maybe he's just like maybe they're happily in a showmance now. So maybe that's I mean, that's not a bad thing, obviously. Like I think that he'll like he would be targeted before her, but he definitely has more ties than her for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, like if any of the
He's got
bros
more
get
people
picked,
looking
he's
out for
automatically
him.
picked. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just so weird. I definitely was taking kind of like, why are y'all picking on this man? Politician slash mayor John seems fine. Like he hasn't. We lose
He's
Pastor
no
Jacob. We
John
pick up Mayor
Mayer.
John. Yeah, yeah.
I have
But
not
is
seen
it?
him play guitar, but
Yeah, and I
uh
don't know if his body's a wonderland. So it's like
yeah.
there's yet to be we have to investigate further probably before we move. But I don't know. I'm excited that he's going to that we are adding somebody else to switch the dynamics up a little bit. Hopefully
Yeah.
he can amass power in the next round so we can see what he would do.
Yeah.
If they're going to put their finger on the scale of anything, I think bringing in new people and then making them the head of the snake is probably like something that I would appreciate, because then you could see, okay, who's able to politic the best with who's already
Yeah.
in charge, right? Like, despite your own alliances that you have, who can win the favor of the newest person who doesn't have all the background? Like, I think that would be fun. But nope, he just gets immunity for the round, and he gets to watch as everything else unfolds. And he came in at a crazy time. Like, he watches the entire house implode. If anybody's not snowed by Katherine, I don't think there's any way that he can. Like, I don't think you can unsee what he saw this episode
Oh
from
yeah.
Katherine.
Yeah, for this to be your first impression of a lot of these people, and especially Katherine, like I don't think that you can I don't think that he's coming in with like days of thinking that she's super like meek, and I don't know. I think he's not going to carry that baggage, so his eyes are going to be open from the start. And I will reserve like my judgment on this twist once I see a little bit about how the game goes for
Mm-hmm.
Mayor John, because a lot of my feelings about it being kind of a flop are attributed to how the game has been for Christine, and I think that a lot of that is on Christine,
That's all
because
her fault.
we see John already addressed some of the things that Christine did wrong in her first days in the house.
Mm-hmm.
In that, you remember Jack was the snake that week, and he said himself, he's like, she has not even come and spoken to me. Like, this is before they know that she's going to be safe, right? And he's like, what is she doing? She's literally globbed onto Cody and has not even tried to talk to the person who's in power. Well, who are the first people that that Mayor John goes and makes friends with? Alyssa
Mm-hmm.
and Frank. He goes to the snake lair.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, snake
The
pit,
the snake, whatever, wherever the
snake
HOH
lair,
sleeps. Yeah, where
snake
the snake.
cave.
What I think it's a lair, but
And
is it the
do
snake lair? Anyway,
do snakes have layers? I feel like a
I
snake would
don't
have a pit.
know.
Like a lair feels like
I think a snake pit is a
the
better
villains are
name.
in the lair,
Have we
right?
had this conversation? I'm having
We
deja
have.
vu.
Oh my
Okay.
god, we gotta stop. Wow.
Okay. Anyway, it's like, I truly don't know. I'm like, we might have just already had this conversation, or maybe I imagined it. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, it would have been a better name. But yeah, he rightfully goes to not only the two best like social people in the house, also the two that happen to be in power
Mm-hmm.
in this episode, and does not do too much. He goes and he makes conversation. He asks about how the sleeping arrangements work. He's like offering to give up his bed for when Alyssa has to return to normal lodging so that like she is comfortable. And I really, even though he has a bit of that like salesman like schmoozy kind of energy to him, like,
Mm-hmm.
people were clocking that. I do think that he comes off well in this conversation, and he's already just addressed a lot of the things that Christine did not do in her first couple of days. So I'm gonna hope that he has done some things right and that people decide to use him, and it's not just like another person taking up space, and is just going to be like the last save so that people can make a move. Because it's like, as much as I want people to be incentivized to make moves, I just don't want it to be like, oh, these people actually have no chance of winning the game. They have no positioning. They're just being used as like the switch up last save to get somebody else out. That isn't super compelling to me. So I really hope that we get something different with Mayor John. We will see. But yeah, not a great move from Jack and the Bros by trying to alienate him, because now Derek is very incentivized to try and make friends with this guy. He just lost his number one in Pastor Jacob. He's got to make some new allies here, and that should be the first move for Derek, I think, going forward here, is pick up Mayor John, pick up Christine and say, girl, give us something.
Anything.
Give me anything.
Anything. I don't know.
Just pledge your life to me, and like, that's all I need right now.
Maybe it's tough because she's the only black lady in the house. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And she lost the one person that
that she had
was open to her. Yeah.
Yeah, she has to start over from scratch. I don't know. But you want to talk about bad moves? I think we've made it. We've made it to the point where we have to talk about what our best friend, the good pastor, did in this game, because he has decided, okay, he did this last time too, but he sat down, he's come up with a plan. Said, I got it figured out. I know what's going on here. Katherine's obviously playing both sides. And so I need to pull all the pieces in and confront her. My best strategic move is to confront someone who I potentially need to pick me coming up. It's like, she might not pick me, but I think if I confront her, that will make people choose us over her.
He was convinced she would not pick him, and that was why he got so. He's like, she's hanging out with these guys. She's not going to save us.
So I need to confront her. I'm like, no, you need to be up Alyssa and Frank's ass right now. They're in charge. She's not in charge. They're in charge. You need to try to jump her in the pecking order. And so in order to do that, he says, okay. So he goes to Katherine. Hey, just wanted to tell you something. She's like, oh, you want to talk right now? No. I'm gonna call a house meeting. I think that's different. So just come
Great
meet me in.
sign.
Great sign. Just meet me in the other room. Then he goes to Derek, and for the love of God, this is the
Oh
second
my
time we've
gosh.
seen him do this. But he goes to Derek. He's like, "Hey, Derek, I've been doing something all day." And Derek's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a
Oh,
plan." He's like, "Oh, really? What are you working on?" "I can't tell you right now. I'll just tell you in the room. Just come with me." I was like,
just come see what I've done.
Jenny,
I did a thing.
if he just compares notes with this man, if he just says, "Derek, I'm about to blow up Catherine's game," it's got to be what 99.5% sure that Derek's gonna go. Wait a minute, no, don't do that.
I think we do need to put okay because you might be right, but I do think we need to put a little bit of this on Derek
I
because
will not.
this is now the second time that because Derek was skeptical last week and maybe he just did not have enough time to damage control, but we heard from Derek being like, I don't think that we should trust these people, and he
Yeah,
kind of just is like, well, Derek, if you think that this is
you're
not a
right.
good thing, maybe you might need to do something. You might need to like fix the situation, or I don't know. I don't really know what the answer was to
I,
last week, but like he did. No, Jacob doesn't say I'm about to blow up Catherine's game, and this is gonna be a really great move for us. But he does kind of hint to Derek, being like, Katherine, I don't think we can trust her. So
mm,
Derek does get kind of a hint about what Pastor Jacob is on. And instead of being like, hey, let's take a moment, talk about it, think about what our plan is, let's be on the same page about what we're saying here, he says, oh, okay. And he lets, you know, Pastor Jacob is a great leader in a lot of other scenarios. This is
mm,
not the man you need to be
yeah,
leading, like, call the person out in a house meeting situation. And I do think that even though what Jacob was doing was messy as all get out and should not have happened, that there does need to be a little bit of responsibility on Derek here to be like, control your man, okay?
yeah. Okay. I hear you. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Come but I just feel like if
God,
you're
but
Derek, you're like, there's no way you think he's about to do what he's about to do. You know, like it's literally no
yeah,
way. It's like
that's true.
Derek should be watching him like a hawk. And Derek is
No,
like, no, he's fine. There's, we're dividing and conquering. We're definitely going to ask Pastor Jacob about these hard questions in our exit press for sure. But
yes.
yeah, like he's probably like, we're dividing and conquering. You go do your thing. We both grown. We got this. You got this. You can't mess this up because all you got to do is do nothing. We're just working on this and Frank, telling them what we saw. Let's get on their good side. But Pastor Jacob was like, no. Although the boys have betrayed us last week, we should be targeting Katherine. And he goes and he airs her out. And he's like, Katherine, I did you tell them that you had two different packs? And she's like, yes. He goes, yeah, but like, I don't think y'all knew that she had another pack with her. And she's like, well, you can have multiple packs in the game. Like, I have a pack and I have a pack within a pack. And he's like, yeah, but like, that's not untrustworthy to y'all? And they're like, I mean, it's not the most trustworthy thing in the world, but I mean, it sounds fine. And Catherine just like immediately is like, hey, you know what? It feels like you're trying to throw me under the bus to save yourself. Is that correct? And Pastor Jacob is literally doing that. So he's kind of like, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's actually what I'm doing. Like,
Kind
you're
of,
not
yeah.
trustworthy. And so I'm thinking that, like, I won't get saved unless I make sure you don't get saved. And she goes, okay, well, I'm going to leave. And because I don't like the way this is going. And I'm just going to go outside and you can talk amongst yourselves because I don't appreciate the way this is happening. And then we get her rule where she says every fight matters. And the illusion of losing is not necessarily losing, right? The appearance
Yeah.
of loss is not a loss. And when she walks out the door, she's like, this effing pastor got me effed up. Like this, Pastor Jacob threw me on the bus and I told him, go F yourself. I was like, she did not say any of that. This
None of those
lying
things
lady.
happen. But she like uses this perception of her as like sweet little Katherine who would never get riled up and is so like sweet and emotional, comes out upset, and then her bros, it's like she activated them. She was like, it was like, coming home and being like, this boy at school was so mean to me. And then like dad is pissed and is like, I'm gonna go fight that kid's
Mhm.
dad. I don't know if I'm like making up a fake thing, but I think that this is a thing. And
Okay.
I feel like you see Devonte like hop out of the hot tub, and the guys are like, you hear Jack going like, "Oh no, you don't make Katherine mad! Like,
Not
what the
Katherine.
heck?" And then
Yeah.
and then like this was so messy, but like just perfect for her because she's like, okay, rule whatever, make another scapegoat. And then she walks back into the room with her freaking like
Army.
bodyguards who are
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna defend, like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get in on this. Like, oh my God. And then Jacob's just like, oh, I was not prepared for all of this. Well, you should have been.
And he keeps trying to reiterate the same point. He's like, but Katherine has a pact with everybody. They're like, we don't care. We don't care. And he's like, yeah, but y'all should be more upset about this. And I'm like, no, Jacob, you're going after the wrong person. Katherine is not your target this week. Your target are the people who just betrayed you last week. They just betrayed you. They just did. This is to be a no-brainer. We should be all hands on deck against these boys. You are like
Yeah.
so even Derek, poor Derek, he's trying to shift the conversation. Even Alyssa is like, so tell me more about the conversation between Derek and Jack that said target
Yeah.
Alyssa
One
and
with
Frank.
my name in the mouth.
And Derek's like, I'm glad you asked. Jack said a thing. Jack goes, yes, I said that thing. He said, see, exactly. And then Jack's like, you're trying to throw me on the bus. They go back and forth. And Pastor Jacob is like, so pause. So nobody cares about Catherine's pact. Like, no,
No.
no, wake up. Or it's not clicking.
We are not
Oh,
dealing with this right now.
it's not the
Yeah.
time. It's
Yeah.
not the time. Because you have them on the ropes. They're getting mad. We see Frankie being like, I don't know if I could trust them anymore. And Derek is fighting by himself because Jacob has decided to fight a different fight. He's
Yeah.
fighting the Catherine fight.
Well, we have to remember that early in this episode, after his plans were foiled the previous round, he kind of goes and he confides in again house therapist Frankie about how like he's done strategizing and trying to like work people and all of these things because like it's not working out well for him. And he doesn't like the lying part of it. And I think like, in what he ultimately says at the end when he kind of takes himself out and falls on his sword for Derek, he does kind of say this thing again. And I, even though his actions like what the thing that to do would have been to stay out of everything this week. If you didn't want to be in on like the lying and like that part of it, not that he was lying, everything he was saying was true. He just did not need to be saying any of it. But if I think that the thing is that like we wanted Pastor Jacob to play a little bit deviously, and like I think that he was so it just seems like based on how things went the previous round that it probably he doesn't have it in him. And so he thinks he's doing like the honorable thing here where he's like, there's one person here that's playing all of us. And like, I'm doing the honorable thing here by exposing it. But like what we really, really want him to do in the scenario is like, take that information and either sit on it or use it very selectively to Alyssa and Frankie to try to get them to take out one of the guys. Like you can expose things that you've learned from Katherine and kind of inadvertently expose Katherine without calling a house meeting and making it very obvious to everyone what you're doing. And I think that that's what we, strategically would want Jacob to have done in this situation. I just am feeling like he did not have that in him to do, and he in his mind was doing like the right thing for everyone by exposing that she's playing everyone.
We are at war, Jacob. This is war. This is war. You have to take out the
He's
other
too
side.
peaceful.
He doesn't know he's at war. And it's like, I thought last week, I thought the last episode, we found out we were at war, right? Like when they betrayed you in front of everybody, that was when you should, all right, gloves are off. It's them versus us. That's it. But he
Let's go.
did make
Yeah.
it them versus us, and then said, well, "What about Katherine? What about them versus
What about this
Katherine?"
third
Right?
option?
And it's like, no, that's a half measure. Take them out. You should be
Yeah.
like with Derek, ride or die. Derek's right. They said this. I heard them say it. I don't care. Even if you didn't hear him say it, I trust Derek. They told him this. I believe him. Frankie, you know I wouldn't play a devious game. You know, like that kind of thing. And because it is the truth. He wouldn't even be lying. But he's just like, oh no, let me eradicate the person who was doing the most lying and
Yeah.
the most scheming. And it's like, that's not good for your game. You know, that might be
No.
good for whatever morale is going on in the house. But for you to continue in the game, you need people to be targeting the people who are targeting you. And Katherine just wasn't targeting you. She wasn't
Yeah.
saving you necessarily, but she definitely wasn't going to paint a big ass target on your back like she did in this episode.
To Jacob's defense here, though, I can understand not knowing and fully believing that what Katherine really wanted to happen here was to have one of the bros leave, because we hear in numerous confessionals throughout this episode that while she is in a pact with the four of them, one of the three of them going here is actually her best move.
Mm-hmm.
And got a sting to watch it back, right? Like, to see,
Yeah.
like, oh, I really, like, even though yes she is two timing here, like, she did want one of them gone here.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of understand not being able to know that that's truly what she wants here, but like, he could have taken the information she gave him and not like fully revealed the magnitude of it to Alyssa and Frank, but still used what he found out in a way to like help increase the target on the guys by being like, listen, Katherine, or maybe not even, I don't know, I don't even know if you have to say that you hear this from Katherine, but maybe you do, and you say like, told me that she's good with these guys, and that she knows that that was the plan the entire time, that Jack and Devonte knew that they were going to play us like that, and like, now they're going to Derek and you putting your name out to him. Like, these are not the kind of players you want to keep in the game. They are not going to prioritize you. They're going to do exactly what benefits them. And like, we saw them do it last week. I was going to be true to that, and they threw it in my face, and now they're throwing your name out to Derek. Like, they're going to do whatever benefits them. These people do not have your back. Like, that's all you really need to do, is kind of just use, and then keep the stuff about Katherine and up there and say, that's another problem. But again, we are trying to, game this from a perspective where I feel for Pastor Jacob, because this man could not catch a footing in this game at any point. Like, I feel like these people are like still mad at him from like, I just feel like he just never had a chance. They were just like so like mistrusting of him. And then like the food eating challenge and stuff, I don't know.
It was
It's
both
tough.
though. They were mistrusting of him, and he was bad at the game.
And he was
I feel
messy.
like
Yeah.
if he wanted
Yeah. Both
Katherine
things are
out,
true.
Jenny, if he wanted Katherine out, would the move not be to go to the bros and be like, look, I know you think you were Katherine, and I would love to work with you, but she just told me to target you. She told me about your alliance. She told me it's called the Core Four. She told me that it's all the bros, this, that, other, but she wants to take you out. That might not be true or whatever. I have no intention of targeting you. I just need to let you know that it's happening because I want to be on the up and up with you. That you might lose Katherine there, but your goal is to take her out anyway. So if your goal is to take her out, why not go to the bros with this information? Why are you going to elicit them with this information?
I don't necessarily know that would have worked either, though, because I think that the bros are partially quite snowed by Katherine, and that she just throws it back and be like, yeah, of course I was lying I was trying to like,
I'm not saying
get him to spill stuff to me.
I'm just saying, like, if your target is Katherine is playing both sides, she's targeting the bros. Why are you telling the other side? Like, tell the bros. You're telling the side that's not even targeting. She's not even targeting right now. You're like, Frankie and Alyssa, Katherine is working to take out your ops. They're like, oh damn. You're like, no, tell the ops, tell them. Like, I was like, she just did this all wrong.
it has to be, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Jacob and what he was really thinking here. But like, I feel like, does he maybe think that this is just a way to like reset the game and be like, hey, maybe I somehow neutralize like this battle between us by like pointing out the person that's like keeping us going at each other. Like, in some cases that does work, you know what I mean? Like there are situations where like pointing out the person that's causing all of the chaos between the two sides it is the bigger problem here, but it has to be done in a certain way, and it requires knowing like what people's relationships are with each other and all of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that like maybe that's what he could have been thinking here, but it's like he just did not need to do that. That was not like his best path here at all.
I did think about the meanest thing someone said about Mayor John. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, okay, yes.
Brett says, I know
Oh,
weakness and when
yes.
I see it. And this man is a walking tampon.
Yeah, what the hell, Brett? Okay. So like Brett is not getting a lot of content.
Mm-mm.
And I felt like he came off terribly in this
That was
episode.
awful. Why would you say that to somebody? Well, he didn't say it
It
to
wasn't
anybody. He said
even
it to,
offensive. It
yeah,
wasn't even
but
offensive to Mayor
people,
John as much as it was just
to
like
people who wear tampons.
offensive.
Yeah.
Like just generally why like we're walking tampon.
A
Yeah.
walking tampon.
And this is
Crazy.
why I feel like, in some ways, this show and this cast is giving old school
Mm-hmm.
reality TV.
Absolutely.
Um, and I still say that in like a complimentary way, in that like it feels nostalgic. And you're gonna get personalities that are going to clash a lot more when you get people that are maybe not like as aware of like the things that they're saying and how they come off and are just gonna like say the thing. And these are the moments where I'm like, this feels like an old school reality cast. You're right. So this was not said to John
No.
directly, but that was the most like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brett is not a fan of Mayor John. Or tampons, I guess.
I have a question for you.
Of
We haven't
course.
talked about this one though, but we talked about the other one. What do you think about our new potential brewing showmans between Devonte
Oh,
and Amanda? Because
yeah.
we've been high on Amanda thus far, um, but I have some questions about my girl and what she's got going on this round.
Yeah. I mean, she ultimately is going to make the final save here and outline publicly the reason she's doing it, in that, she says, I've had a pact with you two, with Derek and Jacob, but it's been a little messy and I don't want to really be associated with that. So Christine, get up here. She chooses to abandon them, leave them to the wolves or the snake. And so kind of, an interesting move from her. I understand it. Yeah, she's getting closer with Devonte, who is the one that saves her, and puts her in that final save position. And we get some little clips of like the two of them kind of like chatting and like low key flirting. We're not at Mac and Jack territory yet, but it's interesting. We haven't gotten Amanda's perspective yet, which leads me to think that she is playing him, and that maybe we will get this revealed to us in a future episode. But we do hear from Devonte, in that, you know, he likes her,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also a little concerned that she might be going into a room and being like, this guy is so stupid. So he's already kind of like suspecting that there's a chance that she's playing him. Which I don't know if that's just paranoia on his part, or if maybe she's not doing a good enough job of making him feel like it is like a sincere thing. What is your take on this? Do you think this is what's happening here?
I think it's sincere because I don't agree with the move to cut Derek and Pastor Jacob here
Okay.
from her perspective. I think it has to be sincere because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like you let them go because you know that they're at war with the bros and you want to keep the bros around because you're in a showmance with the bro. Like to me, that's like my logic for it. Again, she might see something that we don't see, or maybe she is playing them. But for me, I'm like, again, you need to weasel your way into this big alliance and you need people targeting your people that you want out. And it's going to be really
Yeah.
hard for you to target the bros if you're dating one or booed up
Yeah.
with one. You know, it's going not saying that it's not possible, but I think it'd be a lot more difficult. And you're taking out people who would be willing to do that dirty work for you by leaving Derek and John, I mean, Jacob out of the pecking order here. Because Christine ain't going to help you. Sorry. So it's like, no disrespect to Christine. Like maybe she will
No.
do something. But like
Yeah.
until then, you know that it's a very public pact that you have with them. Just save them. Everybody knows you're going to do it. Save them.
That's what they
And then
expect. Yeah.
right. And then next
Christine's
week,
expecting it.
right. Next week, when if they get power, they're going to save you, of course. And then you can go save them again. These are your meat shields. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you want
Yeah.
them in the game, and you want him in the game too. Like, I'm just like, no. If I unless she's so that's why I figured like she might be further down this showman thing than we're being led on because she's like, I don't want to like pull a Rachel Riley, but it definitely feels like a lot like nobody comes between me and my man.
Yeah.
When I'm like, you definitely want them in the game. You want these two sides fighting because who the hell is targeting Amanda? Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, unless there, there's some sort of situation where she's still very associated with the other two, and the only way that someone can take a shot at the other two. I don't know how this works,
no.
but
No, absolutely
you
not.
get down to it, you have a certain amount of control. So yeah, it's tricky. No, I don't disagree. Like I'm kind of on both sides where it's just like I can see like being like I don't want to be the reason that these like messy people are continuing to bring down like my game. Like I kind of do want to distance myself from this because they're certainly not helping me. They're like putting me into packs that are not real and like,
blowing up the game in public.
Yeah, and like I really just this is making my game harder than it needs to be, and maybe I just need to cut my losses here. But I also see, exactly the point that you just made where it's like when you could be, spared by either side, keeping the warring sides together as long as possible is good for you. But she might have just felt like the writing was on the wall and that it's like one of them's gonna go and the other one their time is like very short, like their days are numbered and it's like might as well get off of that sinking ship. But I don't know. I don't necessarily there's something about because we don't hear from Amanda about how she feels about Devonte that makes me a little suspicious. And the fact that we get this confessional from Devonte being concerned that that's what she's doing, that's the stuff like edit wise that's making me think that we're gonna get, because she seems like a stone cold killer, you know what I mean? Like she's just like so emotionless, I feel like, in her approach to the game. And I know that we both were really high on her at the beginning and called her like our winner pick after like the first episode. I don't know that we've gotten enough content from her, but maybe it's just like the arc is kind of starting up again, because she does have this like boss bitch energy to her where she's kind of like, these people aren't helping me, or like better you than me, like so I don't know. How are you feeling about where we're at with her, and do you see like another winner contender kind of rising up here, or is it kind of just too messy right now?
I mean, it'd be hard to get Frankie out of the game, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like I just don't.
Quite frankly.
Quite Frankie. I just don't think there's any. I don't see the math that leads to him getting out. I just don't right now.
Yeah, because the people that even recognize that he's playing a good game, I can tell also just have like an emotional affection for him, which it like clouds your ability to like turn on them, right? Like
I mean, even then, let's say Derek did want to turn on Frankie. why would you do that?
Not
The
yet.
bros is the bros are still there.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like I think the
Bigger
only
fish
the,
to fry.
I think this wasn't a great week for Frankie as far as like the outcome of it. Because
Mhm.
I think he needs Pastor Jacob in the game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
like that's one less shield that he has where people are not
That
able to get to him.
yeah, that was one
Um
of his clients.
right, exactly. Like he needed him in the game. So I can see Frankie because I don't know how anybody gets to him. I could definitely see Amanda if she just based on the like you said, like kind of the way she's been carrying herself and talking about the game and the way she's been approaching it. But I was a little concerned about that. But I think you're right about Pastor Jacob just being a lost cause. Like it's really hard to play a good game when you're dragging this pastor kicking and screaming through the game because he is actively shooting you in the foot the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like I can't even leave the room, and this man then started the meeting because Amanda has not been in on any of these plans. Every time she finds
Yeah.
out about it, she's like, "What? Oh, okay, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Even last week
It's
she
not
was
me."
like, I don't think this is gonna turn out the way I think it is, but apparently I'm being picked first, so
So who
let's
cares?
go."
Yeah, yeah. And this time she's like, here's another plan that I got to deal with. So yeah, I don't hate that she let him go. I don't love it though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
between the two of them, like they seem the most insulated. Like Jordan, your days are numbered.
Mhm.
Katherine put a big target on her back, potentially with her outburst this time. The bros are locked up, but you can only get one at a time, unless there's like a double, in which case there's still more bros to come after that. And they're aligning with people like Amanda and like McLean. So there are a lot of people picking the pieces in a way that, like it seems like Frankie has them already built in. So I
Yeah.
wonder what Amanda does now. I think that's my biggest question because she threw Derek to the wind and Jacob. If I'm Derek, I'm like, all right, bet. Like I got to
Yeah.
go somewhere else. I'm trying to keep that close, but also I'm not saving you no more. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta go find other people who are willing to save me. So I'm very interested to see if she is going to win, what it looks like on this home stretch.
Yeah. Well, and there's one other thing that we need to address, and it's that we have a little twist at the end of the episode. So Jacob obviously is going to fall on his sword, and say, kind of realize like he's fighting a losing battle. No one's listening to him about Katherine. And when it comes down to him and Derek, he basically offers himself up and asks that Alyssa save Derek, and so he's eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
And we see at the end of the episode, Jim Jeffries pulls him aside and says, "Hey, you're done in this game, but your impact has, is not stopped here, and that going forward, every eliminated person is going to be given the power to grant one player still in the game an advantage or a disadvantage." And the episode leaves off with the cliffhanger of who is Pastor Jacob going to give this advantage and or disadvantage to? And so we'll have to see what happens next week, but we should talk about what we think is going to happen. Pastor Jacob's a very positive person. Do we really think that he's going to disadvantage someone?
No. But you spent this whole episode doing character assassination against Katherine. At this point, it's almost a disservice to her to not just go ahead and complete the project. Like complete the assignment. You did. What is the point of doing all of this till when you finally get a chance to like put her away with like another disadvantage? You're still like, it's fine. I'll just help Derek. And I know that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, because Jesus would forgive. Like that is exactly. He literally said, like when
Jesus.
Jim Jeffries says, like, that was very selfless of you, May, and then he was just like Jesus. Like he's like, you know what I mean?
He's so funny.
I know. He's adorable. And I get it. Like you spent this whole episode, this whole round, trying to get everyone to open their eyes to this person and get them to target her, and it doesn't work. But I really think even just like his parting words about Derek, where he says like he is like, fighting the forces of evil in the house. And that he walks out as one of Derek's only real friends. Like Amanda just threw him to the wolves too. So I think that I have a hard time imagining that he doesn't just give an advantage to Derek. How do you feel about the twist though? Do you like that this is a thing? I guess we have to see how it turns out. Yeah.
For a second, I thought it was a jury vote. I thought he was going to say like, now you're
Right.
part of the
Yeah.
jury. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
We love a jury
And
vote here
maybe
because
it
then we
still is
can.
a thing. We don't
I don't think it's
know.
a thing.
We don't
I don't
know.
think so. But yeah,
Okay.
but I think that for us, we love talking through jury votes because we understand how those work. We still don't
Yeah.
know what the end game of this is. I don't
No.
necessarily think that he should have given Katherine a disadvantage because I don't think like you said, that doesn't really help Derek. It just kind of like continues to bury Katherine. I just feel like if he already went down that route of burying Katherine, why not just complete it?
Mhm.
But I think like for Pastor Jacob and just strategy wise, yeah, give Derek all the advantages he needs in the game. It makes sense for him as a pastor, a very nice, inclusive, loving pastor, it seems,
Yeah.
who is very bad at games. And and then yeah, help him out and see what happens later on. And then
Yeah.
now we get to see like the more you show your true colors and leave people out, this could now affect you. And I think it's going to affect how people cut people from the game too once they start to
Mhm.
realize it. I don't know if they're going to
Now,
know.
do they know?
I
That,
don't
like,
think
there's
there's
so
any
many
way.
questions.
Yeah, but there's be really hard to disadvantage somebody without telling them why. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, Derek, you got one extra knot to untie. It's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Because we
I don't know.
think it's going to be, something to do with like the challenge for the next snake, right? I
Yeah, it's
think
got to be
that would
right.
make
Or
sense, right? It's like an
yeah,
advantage or a disadvantage in the
or
next.
maybe like safe, or maybe like safety or something like that, or you're automatically in the bottom too. Like who knows, right? But like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you're gonna do that, you have to explain why. And
Mhm.
so,
So
yeah,
people
I
will
think
know. Yeah.
yeah, and then once people know, does that affect how people eliminate people from the game? Catherine threw Brian to the wolves without like a second thought.
Yeah.
And so maybe if she does that to him, he's like, "No, Catherine, I'm not gonna. I don't support you no more. I don't like you. I don't trust you." And he starts to hinder her. Of course, he didn't get a vote, but moving forward, who knows? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're less likely to betray people so openly if it's the case, or maybe you don't eliminate certain people because you don't want other people to have an advantage. Like I can see myself saying like, let's keep Alyssa in the game because if we cut her, she's gonna give Frankie an advantage, and then he's gonna be around next week too with like superpowers.
Yeah. Like, is this going to become the fire tokens?
Yeah,
Um,
bequeath,
Yeah, are we bequeathing?
bequeath.
I think it probably just depends on how impactful these advantages or disadvantages are because
Mm-hmm.
I could also see people being like,
Whatever.
"Oh, okay, I might
Yeah.
be less likely to become the next snake, but I'm also like I am so well positioned with all of these
Mm-hmm.
people left that it doesn't really matter." Or like, "Oh, this person got an advantage in the challenge and they still didn't win." Like, I don't care. I'm still going to make sure what happens that like what I need to happen happens, and like if they disadvantage me, so be it, or if they
Mm-hmm.
advantage this person, so be it. I think it will depend on like how much that impacts the game, because if it becomes kind of like, womp womp, then I could see people being like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see what happens next week. But if it's like, Pastor Jacob gives some sort of advantage to Derek, who I think is like someone who can definitely hold his own in most of these challenges. He seems, like someone who could do well at a lot of things. And he just now he's back on top. People have to kiss his feet a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Could really make things interesting, but he needs to get some more friends on his side because pick up some of these pieces.
Yeah. Do
We'll
something.
see. Yeah. But anyway, is anything else that we've missed? We're gonna talk to Pastor Jacob in
Mm-hmm.
our exit interview tomorrow, and
I'm gonna ask him
find
what the hell he
out.
was thinking.
Yeah. I think that's almost a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
But with love and
Yeah, of
respect, because
course.
we do we he will be missed on the show. But oh boy, we love a good flame out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that I think that's probably it for this episode, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, keep an eye out for our exit interview tomorrow with the wonderful Pastor Jacob, where Chappell is going to ask him what the hell happened. And we will be back next week with another. Actually, no, I feel like I've heard that we might. There might be some disruptions. So
Be back one day.
we'll be back with recap 5. We'll let you know. Um, but in the meantime, Chappelle, what else do you have going on?
Catch me on my podcast, Recap Kickback, talking about the flavor of love, and it's been a good time. Check that out. It's live every week with me and Chantel, and she's never seen it, and it's a mess. We talk about classic reality shows that are just unhinged. That's one of them. One of the ones that built the ones that we know today. And so
Exactly.
check that out. Subscribe to my podcast as well, recapkickback.com/subscribe or youtube.com/at recapkickback. And then Big Brother season is upon us. So
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned to the We Know Reality TV podcast feed to see any Big Brother coverage coming from me and Jenny.
Yeah, we got the cast release earlier today. Very exciting. And yeah, hopefully we'll be getting into some Big Brother 27 coverage. I'm excited to see how this season unfolds. But in the meantime, you can follow me on social media at Jenny Autumn. Make sure to follow Chappell and make sure you are subscribed to Recap Kickback as well, and give us some love on the YouTube video. Like and make sure you're following us. Yeah, we know realitytv.com for these recaps and exit interviews coming your way, and we will be back with recap for episode 5. And until then, have a good one. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.